Today we're going to be looking at triangles. Triangles are three-sided polygons, and we're going to look at classifying them and how you call them. You call them actually, each triangle has two names. One name is classifying it by the angles that the triangle has, or the second name is by its sides. If a triangle has three acute angles, in other words, all three angles are less than 90 degrees, we call it an acute triangle. If it has just one obtuse angle, then we call it an obtuse triangle. And if it has just one right angle, we call it a right triangle. Okay, then you can classify by the sides, and this means the length of the sides. If it's an equilateral triangle, all sides have the same length, or all sides are congruent. An isosceles triangle, I think I have one pictures down here. Here we go. Isosceles triangle means that two sides are exactly the same. And oftentimes they use what I call little tick marks in order to show that. If not, they'll give you measurements to show that two sides are the same. Now, how do I remember isosceles? I think of it as I saw Celeste with my two little eyes, and she was very pretty. Okay, so when you think of saw Celeste, think two eyes. I saw her with two eyes, so you have two sides the same. And the last one is scalene. Scalene, you don't have any sides that are congruent. None. No congruent sides. See, they all have a different length. So every triangle kind of has like a first and last name. The first name is either going to be acute, obtuse, or right. And then its last name is going to be either equilateral, isosceles, or scalene. It can be an obtuse isosceles. It can be an obtuse you won't probably ever find an obtuse equilateral. That just can't happen. But you could have an obtuse scalene. You could have a right isosceles, a right scalene. Okay, and the last thing you need to know is that the sum of the angles in a triangle are 180 degrees. 180 degrees. And I can prove this to you by taking any triangle, and I'm going to rip the corners off, okay, what I call the vertices, and I'm going to put them side to side. And when I do that, when I put their edges together, they always make a straight line or a straight angle, which is how many degrees. Okay, now I'm going to show you in real life how this works. All right, so let's take a look at an example. We want to find what the measure of x is. Well, what do you know about this triangle and the degree measures of all the angles? Okay, it's a right triangle, so this is 90 degrees. Let's name it first. What isosceles? Okay, it's called a right isosceles. And then let's find the missing measure. First, how many degree measures do I have with the two combined? Well, let's check it out. 45 plus 90 gives you 135. Is that correct? Now, what am I going to do with that? Correct. 180 minus 135. And I get 45 degrees. So I know that x equals 45 degrees. All right, let's name this one. Person with the longest hair, turn and tell your partner. Give both names. Okay, it looks like it is obtuse. I could always do the paper test to check it out. So it is obtuse, scalene. Good job. Now we're going to find the measure of angle x. Okay, well, I have to find out what my two knowns are. What's 20 plus 50? Okay, write that down. And then how do I find the missing? 180 minus 70 is 110 degrees. So x is equal to 110 degrees. Okay, now let's find what x is. Well, because I have two variables for x, or two missing values of x, we're going to need to set up an equation. What do you know about all three of the measurements of these angles? They're going to add up to be 180. So let's write that down. 2x plus another x plus, what is this degree measure? 90 should be equal to 180. The first step is to do what with my x terms? Not yet. I can't divide by 2 yet. No. What do I need to do? This is 2 apples plus another apple gives me, and that's called combining like terms. I can go ahead and combine my like terms. Now, they're both on the same side of the equal sign, so all I have to do is just combine them. I have 3x's plus 90 equals 180. Now, this is what kind of an equation? Not a one-step, but a two-step. We will subtract 90 first. Do you remember doing this? And I'm left with 3x equals 90. Okay, divide both sides by 3. X is equal to 30. Now, it's not necessarily degrees. In this one it is. It's 30 degrees. But this is actually 2 times 30, which would be, this angle would be 60 degrees. X is equal to 30. But now if they ask you what is the measure of this angle, like angle A, you would say 30 degrees. But angle B is going to be 2 times 30, which would be 60. Okay, so it just depends on, they might ask you a different question in regard to this triangle. Are there any questions on our triangle lesson? That's it.